Aaron Kate Whitcomb.
David Zimmerman.
I absolutely adore this woman. She is, it's swirling around in my mind. She has brought so much joy to so many people just through her presence. It proves that, people who do comedy and entertain have this magic charisma. And I'm tearing up about this because truthfully, she has brought me and so many people joy. I'm just gonna let her in the room. She is in the room.
I'm right here.
There you are.
Hi, David.
Hello, Aaron.
How are you and all your Meet the Biz peeps?
We're good. We're peeping along.
Peeping along.
Singing a song day.
I just had an image of the Partridge Family bus.
And I started to sing the Partridge Family song, and then Brady Bunch song came out of my head. And
oh, wow.
and then they had a little collision.
I think you need a nap.
I need more than a nap.
Oh. A nap and a cup of whiskey.
So, you didn't say that?
No.
You had a look-alike on, like, the other day. This woman looked like a relative of yours. She had curly white hair. Do you know that lady?
I'm not sure that hair is hers.
Really?
Yeah, she's a family friend. She's got a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
With the, martinis and blood pressure stuff.
But
it's not up to us to judge. I'm just here to love her wherever she is today.
Yes. I never even asked her name. Was that Auntie Oda?
I guess you've seen that one too then.
I've seen that one. I've seen the eyelashes.
Yeah, the lashes. The Auntie Oda, she was cleaning the grill.
Did you, like, how many characters have you created?
I actually don't know that I have an answer to that. Sometimes I just pull them out of places in my body and they just start talking. So yeah, I'm not sure that that's the best way to describe that I'm pulling things out of my body. I think that's an unnecessary visual.
No, I mean, it started me thinking about I'm not going to go there then.
See?
You're right. So
it's a problem.
What came first, acting or singing for you?
I just want you to know, you and whoever is watching this, that I have very few short answers. So if you need to cut me out, I totally get it.
Well, you just let me know. We can go on for days, so you just let me know, David.
Okay.
I have to do my nails.
You can do them right now. Okay. My parents, I didn't even know this was a thing until I found out this from my parents. They were both recreation majors in college.
Is that how they met?
That's how they met. And my dad became, when I was a kid, a director of a Girl Scout camp in Washington State, outside of like Carson, Washington, sort of across the Bridge of the Gods from, across from Oregon. And so we were right on the Columbia River Gorge. And I grew up singing camp songs before that and even more after that. So my whole family is just very singy. My oldest sister, Patty, was in musical theater. God rest her soul. And my other sister and I got involved in musical theater early on. And I was devastated when I was 5 and I auditioned for Wizard of Oz and I didn't get in.
Who did you audition for?
Uh, it was a flower munchkin. And I didn't get it.
I'm sorry.
And I'm like, who auditions 5-year-old kids? And this doesn't just cast everybody. Like,
That's insane.
so I entered the acting world in a state of devastation that lasts to today. All right, that's overselling it. So my sister got in, and my audition, yeah, my sister Julie.
Did she play the flower munchkin?
She was a flower munchkin.
It should have been like a flower with 2 sprouts, and she could have been one of the heads, and you could have been the other head.
Well, we do look an awful lot alike. I'm just the blonde version of her.
Yeah.
And like her friends would call our house when we were in middle school and high school, and I would just say that I was her, and they would tell me all kinds of stuff. And I would just sit on there and go, yeah, oh man, I hate her. God.
Oh.
But, it was really fun.
And then
I enjoyed.
Say, Mom, guess what?
Right. So I would say that singing has been a part of our entire family from day one.
Yeah.
And I started acting in school. I did a couple of Half Moon Bay was where I grew up, and did a couple of little things there. And then I got into high school and I thought I was, the shizzle, and did a couple of shows there. And then my friends and I decided to go to ACT, American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. We were 16.
The 4-year program or the summer Congress? Or?
It was the summer Congress.
Isn't that the best?
Did you do it?
I did in 91. Not till 1991.
Oh. So I think this was probably 81, 82.
Oh, wow.
Please, I hope nobody watching this can do math.
I know.
So
no math.
Yeah, we loved it. So I took a musical theater class. I did an audition class doing monologues. I did a scene class, and it was really, really amazing. And we would, Jennifer Shepard.
Yes.
So Jen and Sarah Innerst and I would drive up there from Half Moon Bay up to here to San Francisco and do those classes. And it was like the greatest thing I did. And so I was sure at that time that I was going to be an actor. And I remember on my 16th birthday, do you remember the restaurant called the Velvet Turtle?
Yes.
So my grandmother and my mom and dad and I went out to dinner at the Velvet Turtle, and we were talking about college, and my grandmother really wanted me to get a degree in business. And I said, I really want to be an actor. And so they started, my parents and my grandma is, by the way, like, she runs the world. She did. And in the middle of the conversation, she said to my parents, if Erin wants to be an actor, she's going to be an actor. But I would recommend she minors in business.
Oh.
So most of that is true. I didn't minor in business. And yet now I work in business for decades. So that was kind of I feel like I got the magic wand from my grandma that I'm allowed to do, because you don't say no to her.
Yeah.
So, and she's still around. She's passed on. She lived to be 98, but she's still here.
Yeah.
She visits.
I can feel her. I love that when you can feel the ones who have passed on, or you get signs like the bird that knocks on your window on the 3rd story with no trees near you.
Right. Yeah.
It's
amazing.
I have to say.
Have you had that happen, getting visited?
Oh yeah. Especially too, when I'm needing it, I sort of say, Dad, I haven't talked to you in a while. And I'd love some kind of hello. And then within the day, I get a hello.
Oh, that's
like
so
a bird
good.
or something, or something, you know,
A sign.
a sign.
That's fantastic.
No.
I love that.
I have to say, you know, I'm listening and talking to you, and it just taking this journey. And I was thinking two things. Number one, we need to like have like a get together, like with everyone, like Jennifer, and just like, even if it's on Zoom, even though we're getting out of the Zoom mode and we want to do it in person. But and the other thing is, you don't age. You look the same. I mean,
Huh.
what's your secret?
The Zoom filter. Now it's not a secret. So
Oh shoot. I should try my filter.
I love you for saying that. My body is crapping out like big time. Like, I like the aches and pains and everything. And yeah, so that part's been fun, but I do moisturize quite a bit. And I breathe deeply. Breathing is a very good and effective tool for everything that ails you. So I know I think I might have said this when we were talking to Ray.
Yeah.
But it really is legit. It's a thing that calms the nerves. It releases places in your body and tension and psychic energy and all this stuff. And I'm a little secretly a little woo woo. So I go to the woo woo space with that. But breathing helps with aging.
Have you always been about the breathing?
I held my breath for about the first 20 years.
Yeah.
And then when I started to turn blue, someone said, breathing will take that color away.
Yeah.
So, no, I've always kind of been that way because I was also an athlete as a kid. And so breathing, I was, that was a really big part of my life. That was actually my life before I discovered theater.
Now, a couple of things popped in my mind. Athlete, what was your favorite sport? And then I'll go to the other thing about business and how much you enjoy your other side of you, the business.
Oh my God, we're getting an agenda. Hang on, let me.
Oh God, I know.
Sports and business.
Write it down because my brain today is
Sports
like.
and business. Sports and business. So my first truly competitive sport was swimming. So I was a swimmer from like age 9 to 13. And then I took a break and then I joined the high school swim team. And I was very competitive in swimming. I loved it. And it was the kind of thing where, I get up at 5 a.m. and swim from like 5 to 7 and then go to school and then swim from 4 to 7 after school and did meets every weekend. And I just loved it. And in fact, even going into, college and way beyond, all of my parents' friends are always like, are you still swimming? I'm like, you need to let that go. But so I loved, no, I'm kidding. I love swimming. I was a breaststroke, did freestyle, and then the IM, which is the individual medley where you do all 4 strokes. So I loved that. I loved doing that. I loved doing the relay teams. I've always been a water baby. So I get near water and I'm in. So the other ones are, I loved basketball. I was a little bit of a naughty girl in basketball. I have a little bit of a temper, which is something that most people don't know about me.
You used to throw balls, huh?
No, I would. One time I punched a girl in the basketball court. I've been playing against her for years, and she used to do things like, her name was Mona Tuimavavi. There you go. See, now I remember her name. She used to stand on my feet during rebounds and throw elbows and everything. So I just got used to it. It was just like, oh, it's Mona, whatever. And I think she was Jefferson High School.
Right.
And I was taken out of the game and somebody else was put in for me. and Mona started doing it to her, but she was hurting her because I was just used to it. And so I literally left the bench and went up and grabbed her ponytail and spun her around, and
Oh no.
yeah.
What?
So I have a couple of unpleasant stories like that, but I do have a very strong sense of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And that was not right to me. And I was very, very upset at it. And
you were protecting your friend.
Yes, I was protecting Lisa. And I lived in a small town of Half Moon Bay, of course. And do you remember the store Alpha Beta?
Yes.
So the one store, like the one grocery store in town, was Alpha Beta. And so the vice principal of my school was at my game, apparently went through the checkout line, told the checkout gal that I had done that because I was a good student, funny, easy to get along with. But that was kind of a moment. So he told her about it. Then my parents went through the store and apparently went through the same checkout line. And she said, "Did you hear what Aaron did?" And I was like, I'm not telling a soul that this happened. Right. And I walk in the door, my parents are unloading the groceries, and my dad says, "Hey, Mad Dog, how was the game?" And I was like, oh, I guess he knows. So, so I have lots of little small town stories like that. But
was that the first time he used Mad Dog?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He used to tell me that I was the son he never had. Like whenever I got injuries, I'd come home like bleeding or something, or, having something swollen, and he'd like be really into it. That's, guy stuff. So yeah, I was, I liked that he called me the son he never had, because he had a bunch of girls, but we were all kind of, whatever. So business.
It's like,
yeah, I don't know how to
jump from one to the
create
other.
The bridge from that.
I don't need it. We could come later. We could go to business later.
It's your show, baby.
I love, like, I'm like living, you're so vivid, your memories. And I was thinking this woman needs to write a book. I mean, it would be a healing book about growing up and living your life and finding the different paths, because you are an actress and you're also a businesswoman, and you're a teacher, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was a teacher for 32 years, middle school. My sister is a teacher, middle school, 20 some years. We do have a number of teachers. We have a lot of singers in my family. So I think teaching for me is, it feels like a gift. Like, I truly enjoy watching people grow in the business space. As actors, I coach actors for auditions. I was teaching at university. I directed West Side Story at San Francisco State. I don't know if you know that.
Was this after you graduated?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I got together.
Was that in the big theater, wasn't it?
Yes, McKenna.
I remember that, yes.
So that came about. So this is a thing that I'm not sure. It's a weird thing about me, to me, that if someone says that they think I can do something, then I just believe them. And so I was Lynn Barber, for those of you who don't know, or, David's in my history, at San Francisco State, our musical theater professor there was Lynn Barbara Mahler. And she was really intense. She would do this like, this is back when you could smoke in the classroom. And remember 21 and 23, the classrooms downstairs. I remember the weird things. But anyway.
Yeah.
And the payphone number in the theater arts lobby was 2399956. But anyway.
Let's all call it now.
Let's call it right now. It's not there anymore. So she would sit there and smoke in class like this and be like, "Sweetheart, what was that?" And you'd be like, "I don't know. I thought maybe it was I'm making a good choice that Did you hate it? Like, that's kind of how she ran her class. Her videos kind of mildly terrified her. I loved her, loved her. I love being pushed. I love being challenged. I'm not fragile. And so when I get feedback, I'm like, oh yeah, wow, I better listen to that. So anyway, fast forward many years, I had lunch with her when we were in Los Angeles and she was on sabbatical.
Yeah.
And they had asked her to come back and direct a show. And she said, I told them I couldn't do it, but you've been directing, what, maybe you could do it. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's fine. You can put me forward. And I had no expectation because I wasn't on faculty. I wasn't adjunct or anything. And I also didn't know what show it was. And so I just said, sure, yeah. So she made a call, and then Roy, who was the head of the department at the time, called me in and said, so I hear you're interested in directing West Side Story. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. West Side Story? Like, it's not like Oklahoma or, I mean, it was like, and I went, yeah, I'm not available. In my mind, I'm thinking, how do you get out of this? And instead I just said, yeah, sure. Yeah. And I had already directed Romeo and Juliet. And so and I of course know the show because I'm a musical theater nerd. And I was terrified, but I said yes. And I loved it. And it was like, apparently what they told me at the time was it was the highest grossing box office show they ever had at the history of the school. And I was like, well, that's just because it's West Side Story, but it was a heavy lift. And, I don't know if you remember this when we were there, but the music department and the theater department were distinctly siloed. Like, you didn't have music students coming in auditioning for musical theater shows in the theater department.
Right.
Like, that was kind of a thing. And like the dancers who were in the dance department didn't come into the theater department to audition for shows.
Oh.
So one of the things they said is, we'd like to kind of start bridging that gap. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all over that. Like, I am into, I am Switzerland. I'm going to bring everybody together and we're going to fix this, And so we had people from every department, like big representation in every department. We had a full orchestra from the music department, and it was phenomenal. It was terrifying. It's a big show.
Copy of that on tape somewhere?
Well, they went around and they did a big, like, almost like a documentary of the process. So the designers and I were interviewed. The conductor was interviewed. We did some backstage. I never saw it. So it's out there somewhere. I've never seen it.
Right.
So.
God, that's like one of the biggest, the cast is huge.
Huge.
And it's one of the biggest musicals. Of course, now the new movie's coming out, but
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then fantastic choreographer. His name was Byron Seddons.
Right.
Love his work was so fantastic. And we used to have this joke about, he kept wanting to make a mountain of people. And I kept saying, there will be no mountains.
Right.
No mountain. We're not doing any mountains. So for years later, he'd be like, but I'd like to put a mountain of people in. I'm like, no, there's no mountains. There's no, this is an urban show. There's no mountains. No piles of people.
No Sound of Music.
The hills are not alive in West Side Story.
No, the people are.
The people are.
And it's so interesting too that you did that one and also Romeo and Juliet, because they're so, connected.
Yeah, the Romeo and Juliet, I actually directed it at, Francine. Francine was the head of, who's now, by the way, the head of acting at Tisch School of the Arts, NYU. So she was the head of drama at Sacred Heart Cathedral Preparatory in San Francisco. And I had just come back from being on tour and I didn't have a job at the time. So she brought me in and I was teaching advanced acting and directed Romeo and Juliet and Lend Me a Tenor and a couple other things I did with her. So Romeo and Juliet was amazing. Again, it was like, you want me to direct Shakespeare. Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah, I can do that. So,
yes, and
So I do have a videotape of that. So in fact, I might have like 7 of them. So if you want to, I can give one to you and then 6 more.
I know
Your
the winners.
closest friends.
Well,
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
here's
right.
your parting gift on VHS, which nobody watches. Anyway, so it was great. I mean, I've just been lucky that people trust me with, difficult material. Well, the people trust me at all, but let alone with like big jobs like that.
Well, you
It's a
showed it
way
in
of
your
confidence.
acting as well. Your acting and singing. I mean, with all the musicals you did Brown Bride Theater.
Yeah.
You did. I remember what was and the song that I always remember whenever I hear this song, I think of you, the girl from Ipanema.
Yes.
I mean, that's your song.
That's my song. I used to go to a piano bar. It was called it's still there, but it's not a piano bar anymore. It's called the Mint. Do you
Yeah.
remember the Mint on
Yeah.
Market? Yeah.
I'm
So
like, doors are opening up in my mind, and I'm going, oh my God.
I'm going to give you a tour of San Francisco while we talk.
Okay.
I used to go to the Mint and I would pull up at the bar. Like I'd be in rehearsal all day. I'm supposed to be doing homework. I'd go to the Mint because I wanted to sing or whatever. And I started going there when I was 19, and I, with all the queens around the bar, and I would walk in and they'd start playing either Girl from Ipanema or They Say It's Wonderful. That's my Ethel Merman. And I've done Ethel for many years. So
Yeah.
I would walk in and they'd start playing that, and someone would walk up and say The Usual, and I'd be like, please, it was like a Heineken or something. And we would just start singing, and I just loved it. And then when I turned 21, by the way, the drinking age in San Francisco, in California, is 21. And so on my 21st birthday, I couldn't say I was 21 because I had been coming there for 2 years.
Right.
So
you were 23.
Yeah, you can cut this part out if this illegal portion of my life is a trigger for people. So feel free to cut it.
That
It was
reminds
fun.
me of when I was 8 days old, but we won't go there either.
Real, just tip that cup. I want to see what's in there. Yeah, see, vodka.
It's actually a cinnamon latte.
It is?
It is.
You're so fancy.
Poured the Starbucks in here, so it would have,
So the Girl from Ipanema became a signature song for me. And in fact, when I auditioned for to be on tour with Dame Edna,
yes!
One of the things they asked me for was, first of all, the audition consisted of me doing an improvisational, wordless scene. And I'm like, what? And so I think they gave me a prompt of some sort, but essentially the whole thing I did was me getting caught what I came up with was me getting caught shoplifting underpants from a store, and that they asked me to take them off, and I was like taking off my underpants. I mean, it's all meme.
Yeah.
And then they said, can you do a song for us? And I was like, oh my God, nobody asked me for a song. Okay, yes, of course. And so I did Girl from Ipanema, and in the middle of it is sort of I do like a trumpet solo, but just with my mouth. So I did that, and I get the job, which was like mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to put that number in the show.
Yes.
And so they did, and we added a little tap to it. So that was, and I was very aware that me singing in the show was really just a cover for Barry Humphries to make a costume change, for Dame Edna to go from Dame Edna to Barry Humphries at the end.
Right.
So, I was I was a curtain, but it was so much fun.
Oh, but it was so much more than a curtain. I'm so blessed that I got to go see you do that and hang out with you afterwards. And that was
so much fun.
I love, one of my favorite things to do is to go to a theater and see somebody who I know so well, who is so talented, and see them right up on the stage. And I'm just like, it just thrills me.
Me too. I love it. I love going and seeing my friends perform and just be like, so like your heart gets full to see them doing what they love to do.
Yeah.
Like you really feel it. You feel, and that's true whether you know them or not. I think you can feel when someone's really in their element and what they're giving to a performance. Um, and I think the other side of that is you can also feel it when someone isn't in it.
Right. Right.
And so appreciating the difference, I think, is really important for us to know. And certainly as a director, like to never create the kind of space where your actor doesn't feel invested, and being able to create that environment where the actors trust each other and are really actively listening to each other and being responding, not just saying their lines. Obviously, that's a no-brainer if you're an actor. But it bears repeating, because sometimes I think when you've got, especially if you're in a long-running show, it gets easy enough if you're not reminding yourself it gets easy enough to phone it in, and you don't want that. Your audience doesn't deserve that.
Well, that's so wonderful about being on the stage, or I mean, in acting in general, it's being in the moment.
Yes.
And instead of phoning it in and just do, you're living it every time you do it.
Yes.
And as you say, breathing.
Breathing. Breathing is, I have to say that, in the audition process, that is so critical. I mean, I had a great acting coach, I guess in my 20s, and she had this trigger word that you would create your own trigger word that would immediately get you into like aligning. You practice the trigger word along with things like breathing and relaxation and lowering your shoulders and being in good posture, just general alignment, and that would help when you get into that stressful situation, as we talked about when we were talking with Ray, that balance of sort of what's anxiety and what's excitement, nervous energy, all those things are kind of all coming from the same place. And so if you have that mechanism, it's just, you have to build these techniques to help you get through these things and just remind yourself about what you're doing and that this feels good. And being nervous, I think, is really healthy. I think if you're just not nervous, you might need to check in with yourself.
I always seem to have that nervous feeling, connected to that. Annalyn Barbara, she's the one who said the feeling of nervousness and excited is the same similar feeling. And so I always remember that. So when you were saying that, and it is, I mean, even before I do a show, I mean, one of these interviews, I always go, okay, here we go. Whee!
Yeah.
You can fly, you can fly. I always think of that Disneyland, Peter Pan ride.
So is that what you were singing before I came on?
I think so.
And snapping?
Oh, no, I think that was something else. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
I want to go to Barry for a second, because
Okay.
you know me, or maybe no, you know me, that I like to sometimes bring on people and surprise people. And I sent a letter to Barry, and I got a letter back, and I want to read it to you. Dear David,
Are you kidding?
What?
Are you serious?
Dear David, I'm so sorry, but I cannot reach Barry at the present. He is fully occupied with an important writing project with an imminent deadline and out of communication. But I know he would be so delighted that you are interviewing Erin, and would love to send his best wishes to her. He speaks very fondly of Edna's family on many occasions. Hope this show goes well. Regards. I believe it was his wife, but it was Patricia.
Lizzie.
That's what the email said.
Okay.
The email
Yes.
said that, but
That's fantastic. David, you're the cutest. That's so great. Thank you.
well, of course, because I know that, seeing you in that show and seeing the way, everything comes together in life and how you were just shining on that stage with
Oh,
Dame Edna and Barry, and it was like magic. So,
thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that. It was quite an experience for sure.
Um, what what is one of your greatest joys in life?
Making people laugh and being of service to other people. However, if I can be of any help um, to get through a hard time or to, produce an atmosphere where we all just get to really like lay it out and have a super hard belly laugh, or, I think the thing that makes me really happy is bringing joy to other people and helping them to realize their own potential. So the potential part is maybe a little bit more on the sort of, directing and business strategy kind of part of my life. But I love people. And so when I'm in sales, I'm not about the product, I'm about the person and solving the problem that they have.
Yeah.
And so I just love people. And it's made me a better business coach. It's made me a better trainer. I train for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi for people who are launching businesses. So I'm part of that space. And I would have to practically, because these are like 3-day trainings.
Right.
And they're,
Do you work with Tony?
no, it's an organization under him that he's part of creating. He have created the framework for this.
I have got afterwards. I got to connect you with Kathy Buckley because she works with Tony a lot.
Oh, great!
And the two of you are I mean, you're so hysterical, and you have that same kind of giving, loving, hysterical, wonderful energy. So
thank you. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have to get ready for those, like, and then after it's just being present and listening to people and lifting them up, and because I think a lot of us go through these things when we're trying to do something new and elevate ourselves or launch into a new space, or, if we're going to talk about the acting space, to enter the acting space for the first time and to not carry like 70% of your load as an actor can't be imposter syndrome. It can't be, I don't deserve to be here. You get to be there. You get to bring yourself. Nobody's like you. And so that's part of what we train also as a business, people who are launching their businesses, is to bring their whole selves into it and learn how to identify when you are putting up mental blocks, or when you're listening to people who are outside of you, or within your family, or people that are close to you that are saying, are you sure you should be doing that? And like sowing these seeds of doubt. To be sure about yourself. Even though anybody starting something new, if they have any sense at all, are going to have some sense of trepidation, like, should I be doing this? And is this the right thing for me? And am I good enough? And am I smart enough? And are people going to listen to me? And do I know what to wear in an audition? And, did I choose the right piece? And do they like me looking like this? Or like, you spend 3 hours looking for the right tie to wear. And it's like, at the end of the day, you have to show up with what you have and keep improving what you have, just by creating access to your inner life and freeing yourself from that doubt. So that's a lot of the kind of training that I do. And I think that the acting work that I've done has definitely contributed to how I show up for people in the business space too.
Well, it's so interesting too, when I was hearing you talk about the acting and business, and you intertwine them so perfectly, because a lot of times people don't think of acting as a business, but it is. It's so
absolutely.
So the business of you being an actor, or being a dentist, or being whatever your job is. Yeah. Was there anything that you would like to tell up and coming actors or actors that are out there struggling, or not struggling, something that a piece of advice that we give them?
I would say, guess what I'm going to say? Breathe. And bring yourself. Bring yourself. Bring your whole experience, your unique take on the world is your unique take on a character. Think less about what you think a casting director wants or a director wants, and more about who you are and what you're going to bring, because so much time is wasted. And I've done it. I mean, years. I've had an agent since 1997, and many times have just thought, you know, I think this would be really, like, this is me, you know, I'm going to do this weird thing. And then I'm like, oh, but you know, this is a commercial, so they're going to, you know, and so, you know, I start just shut down that creative side of me, or that my weird self, which is always there, and funneling into this sort of universe of what I am just totally guessing at what they want.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of energy. It's a waste of energy to try to do something that you think somebody else wants you to do. What they want to see is individual people coming through the door who know who they are and are showing up. If you're like and if you you know, say hi, make sure that you're connecting with people. When you walk into an audition, now, of course, we're doing a lot of self-tapes and things like that, but take the time to engage with the human beings. And I think that's one of the things that calms my nerves the most, without, like, you know, taking up a bunch of space in a waiting room. You know, when we go back to in-person auditions, you know, nothing's worse than having someone loud in the waiting room who's just chit-chatting and somebody else is working really hard on, you know, their material, whatever. But, you know, being accessible, and staying connected to other people. And that's sort of one sphere of it, is like, you know, being able to access your true self, understand what makes you tick, what you think is funny, what has hurt you, and just exploring all of that. And part of that journey too is not comparing yourself to anyone else. That is a similar waste of time as trying to guess what a casting director wants.
Mm.
You know, going into, I can't tell you how many waiting rooms I've been in where, you know, I'm sitting there with well-known stand-up comics. You know, I did stand-up comedy, like, barely, but I did it, you know, when we were in college. I would get, but I say barely because I never wrote anything. I'd just stand up there with a wig on or a cigarette or a pair of glasses or something and just start talking for half an hour, you know.
And it was hysterical.
Thank you.
I remember those.
But, you know, being in rooms like auditions like that, I'd be looking around going, I'm not going to get this. Like, who's here and look who's there, you know. And that, again, a waste of time.
Mm.
You know, nobody's like me. I'm not like them. So there's no sense in me trying to align myself or create something or try to be like, I know she's really funny, so I'm going to need to be really funny. Like, what does that even mean? You know? Mm-hmm. So don't waste your time with comparisons. We're all in this together. And if someone gets something, a job over you, maybe someone, the same person gets a job over you a few times, then you start to see that person as, that's my competition. And I don't think that's healthy. I think it's natural to observe that feeling. But I think you just need to observe it and then let it go, because you just have to keep showing up as yourself. So those are the biggest tips. And it sounds easy to say it, but it really does take a lot of work to just be free like that.
Thank you, Erin Kate. Long, long.
Remember, la la la